Let's start off the show today with a very exciting guest that we have, and that guest is somebody who reached out to me, and I'm very glad he did. His name is Michael Gamal. Michael is 38 years old, born to a Coptic family in the USA. The Copts are the oldest Christians in the world. From Egypt, they're actually related to the original Egyptians, the ones that you read about in the Bible. He struggled with his identity in the USA. He felt isolated, and therefore he latched onto the pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas movement for nearly 20 years until he felt he had nearly sacrificed all his humanity and was reaching a point of no return in that abyss of darkness. After much research and reflection, today, Michael is a proud Zionist. Let's hear about that. He's committed to fighting the information war waged against Israel. So that is somebody who's definitely had a ride, and I'm very excited to have Michael on the show. Michael, shalom and welcome. Hello.
Shalom Aleichem and Shana Tova to you and your family. Thank you for having me.
Yes, Shana Tova to you. Look at your background there. You got the flag of Israel. You got David Friedman's One Jewish State. Okay, so lay it on the line. Today is a day where we have the Aussies and the Canadians and the Brits and Portugal trying to recognize a jihadist state in the heartland of the Jewish people. And here you are, a Coptic Egyptian American, and you've come full circle. Tell me how that process happens. How does that happen?
I will say, for as long as I was part of the, Arab advocacy movement, that the thing that I'm happy about was I always kept in my mind that I could be wrong about everything. But so I grew up with a pretty torn identity in the United States. I always felt too Egyptian for America and too Americans for the Egyptians. And I was sort of raised in a naive way. I just didn't know a whole lot. And my parents were sort of hushed about things concerning, Israel and the Arab world. My parents actually support Israel. That's the ironic part, was I grew up in a family where both my parents, they preferred Israel over the Palestinians. And they would always tell me, like, you can't trust them. They did this in Lebanon. They did this in Jordan. They have a track record of destabilizing countries. But me being young and sort of idyllic, I wanted to believe that they were wrong, so with these antiquated ideas and such. And so once I finished high school and entered college, I started to meet more Arabs and Muslims in the States. And that's sort of how I was introduced to the pro-Palestinian, the Arab movement. And I will never forget this. During one of the first conversations I had, sort of discussing ideas with them, I was talking to an older Palestinian gentleman, and I was just sort of bouncing ideas off him. I was like, okay, but we want a two-state solution, right? Like, that's the end goal. And he said very clearly, absolutely not. One
Right.
Palestinian state. He was not sugarcoating anything, okay? And I'm
Right.
here, maybe 17, 18, trying to get like a moderate answer out of him. And I was like, okay, but harming civilians is wrong, right? And he's like, there is no such thing as an Israeli civilian. They are either gonna go to the military, active in the military, or they once were in the military, so they're all valid targets. And then the guy was desperate. I was really desperate, Yishai. And so I said, okay, but blowing yourself up, suicide bombing, is obviously wrong, right? I thought that was for sure going to get a moderate answer out of him. And he looked at me and he said, Habibi, this is all we have. And that was one of those moments where an alarm bell went off in my head. And I should have used my better judgment. But at the same time, it was the first time in my life where I found a collective that I thought fit me pretty well. I mean, after all, I grew up in an Arabized household. We're not ethnic Arabs being Coptic, but we are Arabized to an extent because of, the Islamic conquest of Egypt and whatnot. And so I
And
thought,
your language is Arabic. The language
correct,
is Arabic, right?
correct. So,
Right.
we
So
both speak the
that's
same
a big
language.
part of it, right? Right.
Yeah, they both speak the same language, grew up similar, family experience, same music and stuff like that. But like this, you're like, what else do I have? And so I went with it. But man, like that. I wish I had backed out right then and there, because after that, it's just, even if you say to yourself, well, I'm not extreme, and you think that they're going to moderate, what ends up happening is when you're passive around extremism, violent rhetoric, eventually it shifts onto you. It becomes a part of you if you're not actively fighting it. And that's what ended up happening to me was I developed very extreme views on Israel, on Jewish people, and it you it was sort of the same way. I was sort of the same way where you see people, anytime something bad happens in the Middle East, like their brain works overtime to figure out how can I blame Israel? How can I pin this on Israel? And so something that I was told to by like my Arab and Muslim friends, for instance, was in 2011 or no, 2010, entering 2011, there was a bombing at a church in Egypt. And the following day, my friends, instead of saying, this is horrible, we're sorry, this isn't Islam, they didn't say any of that. They said, oh, it's the Zionists trying to create division between the Coptic Orthodox and the Muslims in Egypt. And again, this is one of those moments where I was like, I really like wanted to punch them in the face, Ishai, when they said that. But because I'm a minority in a broader collective, I sort of just kept my mouth shut. And that's one of the things I really regret. But it continued like that.
I just want to help people understand a little bit. The Copts are a minority that lives in Egypt. As I said before, they're like the original Egyptians. They're related to the original biblical Egyptians. Over the year, they became the first Christians, or amongst them, and they're not very much liked by the Muslim majority of Egypt, and they're oftentimes terrorized or under attack. So the natural mode is for minorities in the Middle East who are persecuted to unite. And there's reasons why we don't, but the bottom line is that your parents were amongst those kind of people who got out of there, came to America, and naturally tended to remember that the reason they got out was because of the discomfort that the jihad forced upon them, and they remember that Israel's also fighting that battle. And they after hanging out in America, they probably came to a different conclusion about Israel and the Jews. But you came in contact with pro-Palestine folks, what I define as jihadis, and the bottom line is, when you had a big talk with them, they said to you, no, we don't want a two-state solution. That thing is just like that's just a tactic to get to what we want, which is no Israel, all Palestine. You said to them, what was the second question you dealt with there?
I,
Remind me.
I asked them if harming civilians was wrong, and then I asked them if suicide bombing was wrong.
Right. So basically, in other words, they said to you, no, violence without borders is fine. That's what we have. That's all we have. But that we're fine with that. And we know that that's the way they attack the Copts, even though the Copts are a minority, right? It's like we a tiny minority and an unarmed minority. So we know that's not really about that's what we the only thing we have. It's what they like. It's what they like to do. They like to use terrorism. But but still though, it's not so easy to break out of that and to come to like a pro-Israel mindset. It's not so easy, especially because sadly, and to my great dismay, Israel's not very cool out there in the world. And as a young man, you probably had to overcome some challenges, in order to be one of the cool kids. How did you come to the conclusion that you were gonna, take upon yourself the big challenge of standing up for Israel?
I remember a few weeks after October 7th, I was in San Diego. I was with my friends, and we were, bar hopping. And we approached the red light, and in front of me is some sort of structure. I can't remember what it was, but I remember on that structure they had posters of hostages, Israeli hostages. And I remember looking at that poster, and it almost felt like an out of body experience, like the blood in my veins felt like it evaporated. And because I remembered to myself, I was thinking to myself about the videos I saw of people defacing the posters of hostages.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I told myself, you might be a piece of crap, but you're not such a piece of crap that you would do something like that. And that was the first instance that I had. That was the first moment that I had following October 7th, where I really started to question everything that, I was witnessing in front of me.
That's very recent. That's like 2 years ago, hey? Or even less.
Yes, less. But really the big thing for me, I think, was my dad actually called me. My dad called me and he said, can we have lunch? I want to talk to you about a few things. And so, of course, I went, I saw him, and he just sat me down. And he said, listen, your mother has shared with me some of the things that you've said online. She's shared with me the posts that you've made, and I'm really scared for you because I feel like you're headed to a very dark place. And he sat me down and he really, leveled with me. He said,
Wow.
Habibi, these people, they kidnapped, murdered, they raped, sexually assaulted them, they burned people alive. This is not who you are. I raised you better than this. I don't want to see you go down the same path that a lot of your friends are going down. And
Wow.
it had to take a lot for him to say that because he knew how strong I believed in this stuff. Like he knew, like me and my dad and I almost never talked politics because it would always end up in an argument because I was one way, he was another. But then after that, you see people who you always sort of despise. Like I've always despised Candace Owens, and I've always despised people like Andrew Tate. And once I saw them gravitate towards the pro jihad crowd, I was like, wait, if I've always thought these people are grifters.
Okay, but wait a minute. Wait a minute. I could have said it to you differently. I could say you despise them because they were conservative right. Once they went over to your side, you're like, look, they opened up their eyes. I even have a video just about that. Check out this video that I have. Let's watch a few videos together. But there's a video about how a Muslim Brotherhood member from London explains how Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith are boosting Islam support in the U.S., how he's grateful that they are helping Islam achieve its goals. Check this video out.
That we're seeing now right-wing bases. Who would have thought that Tucker Carlson, of all people, would sit there and be the #1 advocate against Zionism in America today? Candace Owens, Karima, inshallah, قولوا امين. Candace Owens, did you guys see the Ted Cruz interview where Tucker Carlson rips into Ted Cruz and just completely destroys him? Matt Walsh likewise, and there's a huge Marjorie Taylor Greene. Sean King said to me when we were in the car once, he said, Sammy, you don't understand who Marjorie Taylor Greene is. She's the representative of the most racist area in Georgia. African Americans were told not to go to her area. She's now one of the loudest advocates against Zionism. But here's my point about the Ummah when you said that we've done everything we can. Why has that change taken place? Because we've started to deploy a power that we haven't maxed out yet. Trump is looking at Tucker Carlson, who's saying we shouldn't get involved. Candace Owens, we shouldn't get involved. Matt Walsh, we shouldn't get involved. Dave Smith, Trump needs to be impeached if he goes into Iran. So Donald Trump, because of that scream, because of you here in Kuala Lumpur, because of us in London, because of those in Berlin, in Rome, because we actually decided to speak about it, because it became relevant, because we decided to tweet about it, because we decided to because we decided to do da'wah at last instead of sleeping, what happened was Trump instead went to the Iranians and said to them, listen, I need a way out. I'm going to send 2 bombers. They're going to bomb, but what did Israel say? These 3 sites. Your scream, your voice, it has power. It shifted an entire U.S. foreign policy. It stopped Trump from intervening in Iran itself. And this is...
All right, so we get the point here. The point is that he's saying, these conservative hosts were once upon a time conservative, but now they're anti-Israel. They're calling to shrink America and be the America first language. I call it shrink America. They don't want it to be an empire any longer. And I would have thought you would have been like, okay, great. So Candace was on one side. Now she's anti-Israel. I guess she's okay. But you're saying no. So explain that to me.
I have a pretty good sense of when somebody is a grifter, when somebody will say anything for whatever price. And that's the sense that I got from Candace Owens and Andrew Tate and other people. I mean, I've heard Tucker Carlson say some questionable things in the past. Although I actually like Tucker Carlson. That's the thing, is I actually used to like him in the past. So that turned out to be a major disappointment. But Candace Owens and Andrew Tate are just notorious grifters. And so when they gravitated to the pro-jihad movement, I had to start questioning myself, was like, okay, I hate them because they're grifters. Am I also a grifter because I'm part of this? Because that's what it's starting to feel like. And the answer to that, unfortunately, was yes. It was. Because there were things that I knew that were false that I spread. There was propaganda that I knew that was false that I spread. Now, I would like to give myself a little bit of credit and say I didn't put out the worst propaganda, because there was some stuff that was so obviously fake that I was like, I can't do this. Like, for instance, there was this video of, I think, a hijabi woman in Jerusalem. And like there was like a edited clip of an IDF soldier kicking her in the head. And of course, the pro-Pallies, they just ran with it and said, look how horrible they're treating Muslims in Jerusalem. But then when you watch the whole clip, it turns out she tried stabbing him. So it's like, yeah, I would have kicked her in the head too. Like, what are you talking about? But it's, you know, to be part of that movement, Yeshai, you have to, it's almost like when you're watching pro wrestling. If you watch pro wrestling, you have to suspend your disbelief in order to enjoy the show. So for the pro-Pally, pro-jihad movement, you have to suspend your integrity, your intelligence, your humanity. You have to suspend so many things about you that would make you an otherwise critical thinker to really embrace this. And unfortunately, I did that for so long.
Okay, first thing, I want everybody to check out Michael's Instagram account, which was a lot of fun. It's called KopticKaparah. What is that? Is that a mix of a Hebrew word and an English word? What is that?
Yeah, so I chose KopticKaparah because, you know, obviously I'm Coptic, but then I know that kapara is sort of a term of endearment in Hebrew, but at the same time it also means atonement. So I figured it could be atonement for who I was in the past, blended with, you know, my true identity, which is a Coptic identity. And then 0548, that's the month and year that Israel, I think, won its independence or declared itself state. So,
wow, KopticKaparah, that is awesome. That's an interesting coming together of worlds there.
yeah.
Look, today, Michael, we're speaking. It's not just a regular day. The movement that you were once part of, the anti-Israel movement, and I need to clarify something, which you kind of clarified. Palestine-ism is anti-Israelism. Sometimes people don't understand that. They want to believe the narrative that we're going to hear from later on the show from Starmer, who's like, we want an Israel viable side by side with a Palestine. That's a sham. Palestine is an anti-Israel movement. As the man said to you, it's like, no, we don't want a two-state solution. We're here to see Israel destroyed. And it's just a two-stage solution, not a two-state solution, two-stage solution. And therefore, I make it very clear, like pro-Palestine-ism is anti-Israelism. Today, maybe physically on the ground, Israel is strong. But in the narrative sense out there, it's not. And today, European countries are declaring that they recognize a jihadi Arab state inside of the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people, one that would, if it would ever come to pass, God forbid, would endanger the state of Israel, would become the next Gaza. So I'm turning it to you, Mr. KopticKaparah. Help me understand how to swallow today. Is today a heartbreaker? Is today a day that Israel will finally do the right thing because they're forced into it, of asserting sovereignty over Judea and Samaria? How do you read today when you look at the map? And you know, you're looking at it from a different place. You're looking at it from a different part. I'm here. We're both Middle Easterners, but I'm here in the Middle East. You're out there looking from the outside in. How do you see it?
I would say it's a heartbreaking day, but not for Israelis necessarily. I think it's a heartbreaking day for the people who live in those countries, because they don't understand the Muslim world. They don't understand jihad. They think that if they give them this concession, that maybe that they can quiet things down in their own countries. But that's never been the way it worked. I mean, Israel tried. Israel tried the Gaza disengagement. They tried the Oslo Accords. The Oslo Accords gave them the Second Intifada. The Gaza disengagement gave them October 7th. So there is no concession big enough that you can give these people that will make them any less bloodthirsty. So I actually feel bad for the citizens of these countries, because my opinion is that the attacks will just increase. They've essentially rewarded terrorism. They've told them terrorism pays. You can kill, kidnap, and rape as many people as you want, and we'll just give you what you want. That's how I see it. And so I hope that Israel, and I'm going to use your words actually, Ishai, because I watch you a lot. I hope that Israel, becomes the big, strong Israel it needs to be. The big, strong Israel it was in 67, but without, giving the custodianship to the Waqf. I hope Israel is I just hope Israel asserts itself, because when Israel is strong, it has positive reverberations in the region. It's pretty insane to think that Jewish people are restricted from their holiest place. That is under the custodianship of Muslims, and they are dictating to Jewish people that they cannot approach there. And this is a precedent too, because if I'm not mistaken, do you live in Hebron?
I work in Hebron. I live here in Judea, about 25 minutes north of Hebron, but I'm definitely living in the occupied West Bank. Okay. I'm right here right now. I'm broadcasting from the occupied West Bank right now. Okay. And I'm proud of it. But yeah, you're totally right.
The reason I
And
ask,
people forget. Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
the reason I
Go
ask
ahead.
is
No, go
because,
ahead.
as you know, in Hebron, I forgot the name exactly of the place. It's shared between the Muslims and the Jews. But prior to 67, 48 really, the Jewish people were restricted from that area. They could only approach as far as the seventh step. I didn't know that until I started learning more over these last 2 years, and that was shocking to me, that sort of apartheid existed, but against the Jewish people. And people really are unaware of the apartheid-like conditions that were imposed on the Jewish people prior to them reconstituting their presence in Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem.
Michael, apartheid is a systematic idea of jihadism and Islamism. That's just part of the system. By the way, that place that you're talking about is called the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, the Machpelah in Hebrew. The Muslims call it the Ibrahimi Mosque. And here's a little video that I took there today. Let's take a look together. Shalom, everybody. I wanted to wish you a Shana Tova, Happy New Year, from the mamas and papas in Hebron. I'm a shaliach, I'm an emissary, to send you hello and love from the fathers and mothers of the Jewish people, the founders of the biblical tradition, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac, Rebecca, Jacob, and Leah, and Rachel, who's buried in Bethlehem close by. So blessings to you for a new year from Hebron. And I just wanted you to know that we have a new book coming out in English. Okay, it's Hebron Journey to Our Roots, a visitor's guide by Dr. Noam Arnon. I worked on this together with many people for a long time. We're very proud of it, and you're going to get it yourself soon. It's going to be on hebronfund.org, on hebron.com, and you're going to be able to learn all about the beautiful and amazing sites that you can tour here in beautiful Hebron. So that's it. I just wanted to wish you a shalom, a shana tova, a blessing from this beautiful and amazing place, this ancient site that connects us to our roots and reminds us that we ain't no occupiers, that we're from here, that this land is ours because God gave it to us, because our forefathers walked this land, because we had 2 commonwealths here, because we fought in wars and won, because we purchased it, with so many reasons. And it's a blessing. It's a blessing to be back here after 2,000 years with a full 3rd commonwealth. God bless you wherever you are from Hebron, and shalom. Okay, so that was today, Michael, okay? When am I going to get a chance to tour you? Yeah, Habibi, when am I going to get a chance to tour you in Hebron? When are you going to come over and see it for yourself?
Bezat Hashem, either this December or what my Israeli friends always tell me, why are you trying to come in December? So it's either going to be December or the summer. But I am so excited for when I finally just end up there, to be there. I'm not particularly a religious person, but I am a history buff, and Israel, as far as like countries with just history all over the place, that couldn't better define Israel. So Yeah.
The beauty about the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs is that it's not necessarily to be seen as only a religious site. It can be seen as a national site because it's actually the founders of the movement. It's a burial place where a peoplehood started. So therefore, if you're not religious and you don't feel religious sentiment, but you feel historical sentiment or national sentiment, then you come there and you feel okay. This is the beginnings of history. This is the roots of a peoplehood. So it can swing both ways and accommodate that. Listen, Michael, let's watch a video or two that I have here about what's going on in the Arab world. Did you see this video of Dearborn, Michigan? Did you see this? The mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, coming down hard against a guy who was complaining that there shouldn't be a city, a naming of a street in Dearborn, Michigan, after a guy who supports terrorism. Did you see this video yet? Did you get a chance for that?
I think I have an idea of what you're talking about, but I will correct you on one thing, Ishai.
Go ahead.
It's no longer Dearborn. It's the Islamic Republic of Dearborn.
You say that. Check out this. There are blue states, there are red states, and now there are green states. Okay, green states is the states that have fallen to the jihadism. All right. So what happened here is the story of there was a guy named Osama who was a publisher of a newspaper, and he stood up and praised Nasrallah and Hezbollah and said that they should destroy Israel. Then they decided that they wanted the Islamic Republic of Dearborn. They decided that there should be a street named after him, and so this guy came to town hall to discuss it. And here's how that discussion went as he was asking Dearborn, Michigan, not to name a street after a jihadi. Check this out.
I mean, Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You are an Islamophobe, and although you live here, I want you to know, as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
Okay, so that was Abdullah Hamoud. He's the mayor of Dearborn, and he says you do not belong in my town, and you're not welcome here because you stood up against jihadism and you don't want coexistence, because that is always the first attack of the jihad, is the sending in of liberalism and progressivism. Once you you're schooled in progressivism, then you just have to accept the equality of jihadism and Islamism. Okay, so you saw it there on parade. Here's an Islamic guy, Islamist, wanting to name the street after a pro-jihadist. Somebody says, I don't think it's a good idea. He says, you're an Islamophobe. You don't believe in coexistence, right?
Yeah. That guy has been known to be, a real piece of work. The mayor, I believe. Before I went public and started showing my face, because I used to do stuff, Hezbollah, but I wouldn't show my face. I wasn't that comfortable yet. And I remember there was a video of him, speaking before a crowd of protesters. And in that crowd, I saw the flags of the IRGC. I saw obviously the Arab Revolt flag, aka the Palestinian flag. Saw the Lebanese flag, saw the Yemeni flag. Didn't see one American flag. This is how they assert their dominance. That what you saw right there between the mayor and that gentleman, the concerned citizen, that is how they assert their dominance. I mean, they tell us this in the Middle East. They say, no, you have a designated role in this society, and you can never reach the level of a Muslim. You have an automatic, second-class status in our countries. Ask the Alawites, ask the Druze, ask the Christians in Syria right now. How are they feeling?
Or the Copts.
Or the Copts, yeah. Or the Yazidis, the Kurds. I mean, ask any religious or ethnic minority in a Muslim majority country, and they'll tell you this is how it starts, that you don't belong here.
That's very strong. That's very strong. Okay, you yourself have fought some protests. Let's see your fight against protests, and you'll tell us the story behind this video.
So I'm going to tell you what happened with Chevalier Bookstore in LA.
Got canceled.
So when I posted about my event in LA and we started getting signups, there were some protests from Zionists about me.
Ahlan biki, Janan. So let me tell you what happened. A few weeks ago, I made a post on Instagram asking people for help in organizing a protest on the day that your event was scheduled to take place. And me, I'm not Jewish, I'm not Israeli, I'm Egyptian, Coptic, and I needed the help of the Jewish community to get this done. And you know, you being a terrorist supporter and LA having such a sizable Jewish community, it felt really weird having you here. And so a few dozen people reached out to me and we proceeded from there. The next day, I called the bookstore myself and I told them, hey, it's really weird that you guys would advertise this as a family-friendly event, yet the author and person that you're hosting openly celebrated October 7th, called Hamas heroes, and blamed the Bibas family for their own murder at the hands of Hamas. Is that the type of person that you want to host in LA? I called them the next day too, and I don't know personally what happened beyond that, but safe to say the results speak for itself. I want you to know that wherever you go, we are coming for you. Whether it's LA, New York, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., we are coming right after you. I just want to say thank you to everybody who reached out to me about this. It means a lot that you would trust me for this. And this is only the beginning. Wherever these people go, we're going to be right after them. So a very, very special thank you to Beitar. Thank you so much.
Okay, great, great video. So tell me a little bit about the story behind this thing.
So the woman that you saw in the beginning of the video, her name is Janan Matari, and she is, you know, a Palestinian American here, and she is among the most vile people that you can meet in that space. I don't know her personally. I've never met her, never spoken to her, but I'd followed her, and I kept track of what she was saying online. She has posts on her Instagram saying nothing is unprovoked with Zionists. She has a post that says Israel and Israeli society cannot exist. I read her comments where she blamed the Bibas family for their own kidnapping and murder. Basically, she's like, oh, well, they shouldn't have been there to begin with. And so when I found out that she was doing a book tour, particularly one in LA, I was like, this can't happen. LA is a huge Jewish community. This is another way of them trying to assert their dominance over people. And that event got canceled. And of course, she lied about the reasons. She claimed it was solely because she's Palestinian or solely because she's Muslim. It had nothing to do with that. There's plenty of authors who would fit that description that I haven't gone after because they haven't espoused violent rhetoric that I know of anyway. And then she had another event in Montclair, New Jersey, which also got canceled. I did the same thing. I called the bookstore. I communicated with a few people here who communicated to the Jewish community over there, and they ended up canceling her book event as well. That one actually came as a surprise because I think initially they were hesitant. They gave some sort of excuse about free speech and whatnot, but I think the Jewish community nearby that area, they came down pretty hard on them, and rightfully so. Unfortunately, Jewish Voice for Peace actually promoted her at another location, like Jewish Voice for Peace
is a pro-Palestine, anti-Israel organization.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the name is. It's an anti-Israel, anti-Jewish thing. It happens to have the word Jewish on it. Sadly, there are Jews that are anti. You know, just like jihadism at the end is anti-Arab. You know what I'm saying? In the end, it's anti-decency, anti-Arab. It's anti-Middle East. It's anti-decent life for decent people. So what if it's run by Arabs? It's still anti-Arab. So too, Jewish Voices for Peace, JVP, and all these other guys. Okay, so they have the, you know, as a Jew on them. Big deal. Doesn't mean that they're not, you know, haters of Israel. Doesn't mean that they're not dangerous pro-jihad, progressive, anti-American folks. So that's who they are. Okay, big deal. So they have the word Jewish on them. That doesn't make them immediately pro-Israel. Far from it.
No, not at all. And I mean, actually, you know what's crazy is now they're not extreme enough, right? They're not extreme enough. And so a group has split off from them. They're called the Anti-Zionist Jewish Students Front. And in their description, they say we are participants in the student intifada. I mean, this is where we're at in this country and across the Western world. I mean, people thought that, because of, history, that if it's going to come from anywhere, it'll have to come from somebody who's Arab Muslim. But what we're seeing now is that this Palestinianism ideology, it has permeated to places where you never would have expected. You would never expect, people that identify as trans to vouch for this and to wage an attack.
You wouldn't expect it. You wouldn't expect it on the face of it, but after you start seeing it, you start realizing that there is an alliance between progressivism and even ultra progressivism and jihadism. The alliance is the erasure of the old system. It's a type of a communist effort to disaggregate society, to break down all its barriers, to break down all the things that make society work, which is family values, connection to the Bible, the freedoms and liberties. All these things are to be erased. The military and the security people are to be erased. The police is to be defunded. The history is evil. And jihadism, which rewrites history, and transism, or whatever it is, what kind of one version of progressivism or another, is there to seek out to break the bonds of traditional society and break it down. So they are actually allies, not allies in the ideas that they espouse, but the ideas behind it, which are there to destroy society and remake it in their way. Let's watch one more video that we have time for. And this video is you doing something that I think is one of the most important things to do, which is to speak in Arabic. I think that a lot of Arabs are misinformed, brainwashed, and they simply don't have enough to hold on to as an alternative narrative. And here you are speaking in a language that you know. I'm going to play that video, then you're going to explain it to us. Here we go.
لا يا حبيبة قلبي، العكس. بصي بقى، أنا دفعت عنهم ل20 سنوات، وفي 20 سنوات ما لقيتش أي إنسانية ولا حقوق الإنسان. يا حبيبتي، القضية الفلسطيني قضية ضد الإنسانية. القضية الفلسطيني قضية الموت، الإرهاب، الاغتصاب، الإمبريالية والاستعمار الإسلامية. نفس الاستعمار اللي ركبت مسجد الأقصى فوق المكان الأقدس بتاع اليهود. والقاتل من امبارح منكم، من نفس القضية ومن نفس التفكير. فأنا بدافع عن إسرائيل ليه؟ عشان لما أنا بدافع عن إسرائيل أنا بدافع عن الإنسانية والحقوق الإنسان والمستقبل.
Okay, so that was in Arabic. It's so important to speak in Arabic. It's so important to create these videos and to teach. Do you agree with me that a lot of Arabs have been untaught, mistaught? They just don't know the truth?
Definitely. The ones back home in the Arab countries are definitely lied to and not told the truth. If you ask some of them what do you know about October 7th, they'll give you just a completely different story. I do make a distinction between the ones back home and the ones here. The ones here in the West, they know better. They're not uninformed. They're just skilled propagandists. They know how to lie and spin things. So I've heard literally every conspiracy theory you can imagine from here. But definitely for the ones back home that have much more limited access to media, plus all their media is state run.
That's right. And videos like yours do penetrate their minds, and it's important to keep doing it. Listen, Michael Gamal is an amazing guy. You can find him on Instagram, KopticKaparah, and then some numbers as well. KopticKaparah, what is it?
0548.
0548, May of 1948. Very good. And he's already taken a turn in his life and is now fighting against jihadism, Palestinianism. He is fighting for Israel, and not necessarily because of the Bible or because of religion. No, because of a sense that Israel is a force for life and humanity. It's a force for liberty for minorities and for other people, and that jihadism is exactly the opposite. It's a destructive force both in the Middle East and now coming to a town hall near you. So it's important to fight that. And Michael, it's great to have you on the show. and I'm looking forward to hearing more from you and staying in touch with you. And you've also proven that you're not only a person with ideas, but you're actually going to take that ideas and turn it into activism. And activism comes with a certain amount of danger. So we want to bless you to be safe and to be strong out there and to continue to fight the good fight for a better America, in your case, for a better Middle East and a better world. So thank you very much for all that you do.
Toda, thank you. If I could include one thing before I sign off.
Sure.
I implore the world to listen and watch Yeshai. Really listen and listen with an open mind, because it was not that long ago, because I used to watch the debates between you and other people on the Sulha channel with Adar Weinberg. I've seen a couple of your debates. And I remember back then I was like, oh, hell no. But now with an open mind, I was like, he was right all along. So I implore the people watching, please listen and watch Yeshai. He really knows his stuff. And on the eve of something that happened yesterday in Nashville, New Hampshire, where the shooter yelled out "Free Palestine," Yeshai truly understands what the world is up against. He understands the jihad.
I try to understand the jihad, but I also have a heart for the people of this region. I don't have some kind of reflexive hate for Arabs, far from it. And that's the other side of it. It's like yes, hate and fight that jihadism all the way with no holds barred, like to total destruction. And at the same time, recognize that there's people here that want liberty and freedom. They're minorities. They're decent people. They want a life, and they have been brainwashed. And you can push back against that. But to be a proud person on your land, and fight for your rights, fight for this region's liberties, fight for Israel being a liberation nation. That's what I think that Israel really has an important role to play around here. That's the hope that we can not only defend ourselves, but help this region have a reboot and have tourism and Abrahamism and welfare and growth of food and fruit and food security. And there's so many good things that can happen, but we got to get over that hate. We got to get over that jihadism. We got to get over that replacement theology and that replacement nationalism. It's not going to do good for anybody. Michael, God bless you. Michael Gamal, keep up the good work. We'll
God
be
bless
watching
you, Shai.
you.
Thank you for having me on.
We'll be in touch. And say hi to your dad and tell him that he's a great guy. He's a great man for talking to his son lovingly and straight up. And that's passing the mantle of what it is to be a man, to look things in the face, to challenge ourselves, to get better every day. So tell him from me, kol hakavod, okay?
I will. Thank you.
God bless you. Alamak, God bless you. All right. Very fun stuff. Very important stuff on this important day where there's so many lies out there. People like Michael Gamal have the courage. You know what? That's really what amazes me every time. What amazes me is not the understandings, because you can read a book and you can be like, oh, you know what? I don't think jihadism works. It's the courage. That is the marker. That is something I love. And this week I got a chance to spend time with Musab Hassan Yusuf, the Green Prince. I got to spend a lot of time with him last week and this week. And you're going to see some amazing videos coming out this week on Yishai Fleischer TV. And that's also what is his, he's erudite. He's sharp. He's fire. But more than anything, he's courage. And that is what I so much respect.